Yeah, you said before that working with Yuka that maybe she put a little bit of lightness into the record. Was it maybe also the reason why you picked her? Maybe to not get it overly dramatic, or?
Well, I don't know if it was the reason why I picked her. I know that she likes beats, which I always like too, but it's something that I've always failed to accomplish very well, because normally, you know, singer-songwriters, because the core of it is voice and acoustic guitars. It's kind of acoustic music, and normally when you add instrumentations on that, it has a tendency to sound a bit like Americana or country or something like that, and I wanted to stay away from that. And I know that what Yuka does is not that. It's like the opposite, not the opposite to that, but it's different than that, with a certain amount of programming, with a certain amount of like trip-hop jazz and keyboard sounds. So I knew that to take my songs to that, it's going to be different than maybe a more standard producer who would normally work with a singer-songwriter.
Was that the reason also why you chose her, maybe instead of your husband who did the previous ones?
Well, I think I think one of the main reasons.
Or was it maybe becoming too personal?
That's it. For both of us. I don't think either one of us wanted to make a record together, because after what we had been through with the baby, we also bought a house at the same time, going through the death of my mother, and he was madly in love with his mother-in-law. The idea of going into a studio and hashing it out seemed like a fucking nightmare, to be honest, you know, for both of our parts. And it was actually his suggestion, that because I had told him, it was bothering me.
Were you happy that he came up with it?
Yeah. I was really happy, because it made him feel as if it made me feel and him feel that he played a role in it that was a crucial role and an important role. First of all, the knowledge to let me do this on my own, and the knowledge to pick her. Because I had told him I was looking for a female producer, and there are very few of them. And I've known her for 15 years or so, and she's always been a fan of mine. And I wanted a more keyboardy record, so it was just like, and she lives in New York, and we know all the same musicians.
Was that also the reason why you picked Sean Lennon's studio? Or?
She lives there.
She lives there?
They all live there.
Okay.
She and Sean have been living together forever. She produced Sean's first record when he was like 18, and they were a couple back then, but they remained best friends, and really just sort of great companions and friends in life. And so Sean lives there with his girlfriend, and Charlotte, who's also a singer, but also Yuka and Nels Klein live there, because they're married. Yuka and Nels are married, and a couple of other people. So it's just like this rambling house of insanity and artistry. You know, when you go in there, there's always like people taking photographs and painting and recording, and all during the nighttime. They keep nighttime
factory.
Exactly. I thought it was so wonderful and so charming.
Was it for you good to step in that arena,
yeah,
instead of maybe the one?
I think it was good for me to leave home, to leave Brooklyn, leave the baby for a few hours every day, go into the city on the subway, you know, get a coffee in the city, be back in Manhattan, go into this environment of fun and creativity, and feel like, you know, feel not as burdened, because the burden and the intensity came with the songwriting. You know, that was really digging in, you know, trying to write 9 good songs. You know, it takes a long time. Now that work was done, and I was like, well, I wrote the songs, which is no easy task. Now I'm going to bring it to somebody else who's going to do most of the work, and I just have to sort of perform them as well as I can. So that was a great relief. It was a great relief.
One last thing, we have to stop, but the title for the record, "Come Home to Mama," it's a line also from the song
Proserpina.
Proserpina. It's multi-interpretable.
Yeah.
Can you maybe say,
well,
how do you mean it?
Well, I mean, when you look at the cover, I'm naked on it, and it says "Come Home to Mama," so it looks kind of like sassy. When you hear the song, it's like not at all sassy. It's completely.
But not like the way your mother meant it.
No, not like the way that my mother meant it. But the song is the story of Proserpina, or otherwise known as Persephone, and it's her mother. My mother refers to her as Hera, but it was actually Ceres who was her mother, and it's a mother calling for her child to come back, and it's why we have the spring, because Persephone comes from hell up to her mother half of the year, and then springtime arrives, and it's rebirth. And so obviously my mother wrote this song with the knowledge of what was happening to her, so that's very intense. But of course I think too she wrote it for my brother and I too, because obviously when we hear her sing it, it's very powerful.
So that's why you took it?
Yeah, I could see. I was going to title the record "I'm Sorry," because my manager thought you shouldn't title it the one song that isn't yours because you haven't made a record in 4 years of your own songs. I said, okay, well, I'll title it "I'm Sorry" because it seems like kind of a good title too. And then he saw, because I wanted to call it "Come Home to Mama," and then he saw the document. Rufus and I have produced and made a documentary about our mother and her death, which is not out yet, but he saw that in a preview, and then once he saw that, he was like, he should definitely call it "Come Home to Mama" because it's the most important subject, you know.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.